Yeah, so I was just going to say we're ready anytime, so you can just give us the go, please.
Okay, stand by. And you are live, ready to begin.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, May 10th, 2021, and it's 5 p.m. And I'd like to call the meeting to order of the City of Scottsdale Human Relations Commission. And tonight we have a hybrid meeting where we have commissioners at the Design Center, and then we also have participants who are joining us via Zoom. So we'll start with a roll call. Commissioner Day? Here. Thank you. And please, I want to remind everyone when you're talking to make sure you hit the button. Commissioner Eamon?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Mendoza?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Roden?
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Shoyai?
Here.
Vice Chair Mitchell? Here. And I'm Janice Shimakubo. And staff, Sharon Sini? Present. Thank you. Kelly Corsett?
Present, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And Bill Highland?
Here.
Thank you. Have I missed anyone? Okay. Thank you very much. And Sharon, do we have any public comment today?
Thank you, Chair. There are no public comments.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll move on to agenda item number 1, which is the approval of the minutes from April 12th, 2021. Is there any discussion about the minutes or any additions or corrections? This is Janice Shimakubo. I have several then corrections to the minutes. So on page 2, section 2, paragraph 3, it talks about an educational element for the dinner and dialogue series. And that should be changed to town hall series. And then on page 2, section 3, paragraph 2, it says the VAC's March meeting, it said at that time, comma, the felt, and that should be they felt that if veterans were to be included. Then on page 2, section 3, paragraph 3, there are 2 clarifications I'd like to make, and I'd like actually if anyone from the commission would like to comment on this. So the way the meeting minutes read, it says Chair Shimakubo clarified that the VAC made a formal recommendation not to include any military classes. It should be written as clarified that at their April 7th, 2021 meeting, the VAC made a formal recommendation. So we want to show that it was their second meeting that was changed. And then there are 2 options that are listed, which is where I would like any commissioners' comments. So it says, City Council will be presented with 2 options during their April 20th, 2021 meeting. Option A, which as all the protected classes without U.S. military service. And option B, which includes all protected classes plus U.S. military service. And then it goes on to say that Vice Chair Hinchman made a motion to choose option A, which as all of the protected classes without U.S. military service. So I believe it should read option A, which does not include protected classes. Correct? Did it have U.S. military?
I think that would include all protected classes. So they're saying
Both of them, option A and option B include all protected classes, according to the meeting minutes.
except A had without U.S. military.
Correct, which is incorrect. It should probably say has, which has all the protected classes without U.S. military service. And option B, which includes all protective classes plus U.S. military service. Sharon, I'm wondering, is there a way to put the meeting minutes on the screen, or is that not possible?
Yes, Chair, 1 second, please.
Thank you. I'm sorry to take so much time on this, but this is really important because This was the crux of the whole discussion last month. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. So if you would please go to page 2. And way at the bottom, it's the very last paragraph on page 2 there. So you see the very last sentence, it says, City Council will be presented with 2 options. Option A, which as all the protected classes without U.S. military service, so that should be has. And option B, which includes all protected classes plus U.S. military service. Is that? Okay, so we just need one correction with the has then. Yes. Okay, but then it goes on to say on the next page, if you could scroll, it says, thank you, it says recommend option A to City Council. That has all the protected classes. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and then I had one other, page 4. Paragraph 3, it says Chair Shimakubo said that on March 23rd, she and Ms. Sini, and it should say she, comma, Commissioner Eneman and Ms. Sini met with Economic Development. Thank you, Sharon. And those are all the changes that I noted.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I move that we vote on the, what month was that? April, April minutes as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
And
Second.
by Commissioner Day. Okay, and in the past, we were doing roll call votes because we were on Zoom, but is everyone okay doing a voice vote today? So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. The minutes are approved as amended. Item number 2 is presentation, discussion, and possible recommendations regarding the adopted anti-discrimination ordinance. And I'd just like to take a moment to just comment on what a landmark, really historic action that was taken at the City Council meeting on April 20th. And we know that events like that take a lot of work and a lot of people. So I'd like to just take a moment to thank the City Council for unanimously adopting the ordinance, and also for all of the partners and all the Scottsdale residents and businesses and organizations that actively supported the ordinance. And then to staff for really all the research and all the work that you did to develop the draft ordinance. And then last but not least, to this commission, because it was really this group a year ago, was it June of 2021, where we met and we said we needed to resurrect and bring back the ordinance, and we did it. So for the decision that you made, the very wise decision to move it forward, thank you very much to this commission. And with that, I will turn it over to staff with an update, please.
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo. Just going to stop this for a second. My apologies. Well, I did want to bring up some slideshow. I can't get it onto the Zoom, but thank you again for those words of wisdom, and thank you all for your support. As you know, the anti-discrimination ordinance is a commitment to anti-discrimination and fair treatment of residents, visitors, and employees. And so really what we're doing is going out and beginning to formulate how we're going to roll this out, including making sure we have education in these two separate areas that affect the city government and the community. And we're also very proud again to join more than 225 cities across the US who will be providing equal protection and community and for everyone in our community. So with regards to next steps, we are modifying one of our policies, internal policies, which is Administrative Regulation AR 333. And we're planning again to create a training curriculum to include the components of the ordinance and what's important with our volunteers, our employees, and with city officials. And our goal is to really raise awareness and to inform the community about the ordinance, and then finally train a team of staff to handle discrimination complaints. So we've got the ball rolling on our end. We are waiting for May 20th for the final adoption of the ordinance, and then we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there any discussion? Okay, well, hearing none. Thank you again for the update, Sharon. And I know that there will be a lot of work going forward, education-wise, to make sure the community understands. And then again, in 10 days, this will be an official ordinance for our city. So again, thank you, everybody. Agenda item number 3 is updates, discussion, and possible recommendations regarding anti-Asian hate crimes. And at this point, I'd like to turn this over to Sharon for the reading of the mayor's proclamation for Asian American Pacific Islander Month. And we all should have a copy in front of us.
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo. And the city of Scottsdale is proud to provide this proclamation on behalf of the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. The proclamation reads, whereas Asian Americans, and as a matter of fact, let me get it over to the big screen here. Here we go. Whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islander Heritage Month seeks to honor and recognize the contributions of residents from Asia and the Pacific Islands. And whereas today my apologies, Pacific Islanders live in the United States and through their actions make America a more vibrant, prosperous, and secure nation. Whereas Native Hawaiians, Chinese, and Japanese were the first to migrate to the Pacific Northwest, were known for playing a significant role in the areas of commerce and infrastructure. And whereas Asian Pacific encompasses all of the Asian continent and the Pacific Islands, India, Malaysia, which includes New Guinea, New Caledonia, Vanuatu, Fiji, and the Solomon Islands, Micronesia, which includes the islands of Marianas, Guam, Wake Island, Palau, Marshall Islands, Kiribati, Nauru, and the Federate States of Micronesia, and the Polynesia, which include New Zealand, the Hawaiian Islands, Rotuma, Midway Islands, Samoa, American Samoa, Tonga, Tuvalu, Cook Islands, French Polynesian, and Eastern Island. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have distinguished themselves as leaders in science, medicine, technology, first responders and police officers, innovative farmers and ranchers, distinguished lawyers, judges, government leaders, contribute to the music and arts, literature, sports, and business, as well as war heroes who defended our country, and peacetime healthcare heroes currently on the front lines of the pandemic. And whereas, while celebrating the achievements and contributions of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders that enrich our heritage, society, and culture, we acknowledge the darker aspect of AAPI experience in America, structural discrimination, prejudice, and injustice, which has been ongoing, but has recently escalated into more violent attacks itself in racist attacks on Asian Americans related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the city of Scottsdale has adopted an inclusive anti-discrimination ordinance as a public policy to promote equality and prohibit discrimination, harassment, or retaliation. And whereas the city collaborates and partners with community-based AAPI organizations to form strong relationships in a culturally appropriate way and to provide the space for feedback and guidance to the city on improving outcomes and opportunities for AAPI residents and visitors. Now, therefore, I, David D. Ortega, Mayor of the City of Scottsdale, Arizona, do hereby proclaim May 21st as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. And so this agenda item relates to our April meeting where we had Jason Wong attend, and he explained the letter that he had written to Governor Ducey. And so we said last month that we would bring this back to this commission for any further discussion. So we had talked about including anti-Asian hate crimes in town hall discussions. And I know that we're going to get to our town hall planning in another agenda item. But does anyone have any ideas or thoughts they would like to share on this topic? Why don't we do this then? One second. We can discuss this when we talk about future town halls. Okay, I see head nodding. Okay, thank you very much. And now to agenda item number 4, which is presentation, discussion, and possible recommendations regarding commission ideas to include in the city's 70th anniversary celebration. And I just want to point out that the actual date of the 70th anniversary is June 25th, 1951. So it's my understanding that this is going to be a month-long celebration, and I'd like to turn it over to Kelly Corsett, who will provide us with an overview of what the city is planning. Kelly?
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo and members of the commission. You are correct. The city's was first incorporated on June 25th, 1951. And we are planning a 70th anniversary celebration. I'm not sure I would portray it as a month-long celebration. We will be doing different things throughout the month. At this point, some of those are still in the planning stage. There are two primary activities that are on the schedule now. And one is a presentation at Scottsdale Library that is scheduled to occur on June 23rd. It's a 2 p.m. presentation at Civic Center Library, and that is with local and community historian Joan Fadala, who is going to essentially help the community celebrate our 70th birthday and learn more about our history as a community. Mayor Ortega will be participating in that program as well, and we are also planning on telecasting it on our government channel 11 and sharing it via YouTube and other means as well. The other big event that we are planning will occur in the evening, which is a little bit unusual for us, but it'll be an evening event on Friday, June 25th. And that is what we are calling our 70th anniversary legacy quest. It is not really a scavenger hunt, but kind of along those same lines. We will develop and ask people to find different locations in primarily in the Old Town Scottsdale area, and people can participate. They can complete tasks that we may come up with, and then they will receive some 70th anniversary items in exchange and be entered for some bigger prizes. So that's sort of we we have one is a little bit more of the sit and learn a little bit about the community, and another is a more active interactive activity in hopes of getting people out and about in our Old Town area. It's always a little bit challenging given the date of incorporation falls in the heat of the summer. So doing those events is always a little bit more difficult, but there's a group of city staff across a handful of different departments who are working on this concept. That is the Legacy Quest is going to also be co-marketed as part of the tourism department is doing a variety of different activities and programs throughout the month of June. And what's a first for them is really trying to deliver some specific activity during the summer, which is a lot of times we kind of go dark and dormant from a public facing program perspective because people are gone on vacation or up to the high country or wherever they may be. But this year we know there's a lot of us who will be in town and are looking for things to do. So the tourism department is going to be doing things throughout the month of June. And so those are the two primary activities we have on the schedule now. We're thinking of other things that we may add. Obviously, we don't have a ton of time between now and then, but it is the Celebrate Scottsdale 70th program at Scottsdale Library, June 23rd. And it's the 70th anniversary Legacy Quest in Old Town on Friday, June 25th. And with that, I will answer any questions that anybody has. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. I see a couple hands raised. Commissioner Day.
Will people have to register for either of these events, Kelly?
Commissioner Day, members of the commission, yes. Pre-registration is requested for both, just to give us the ability to manage the crowds a little bit.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Kelly? So Kelly, this is Janice Shimakubo. I have a question with respect to when you say we, is it the communications department that is leading this, or is there
Chair Shimakubo, members of the commission, I would say yes, we are coordinating. The mayor's office is a prime driver here. The library are the ones who have been working on the presentation that will occur at Scottsdale Library, and our Old Town Tourism Office is helping us with a lot of great ideas and experience in putting together the Legacy Quest. But overall, the Office of Communication Citizen Service have stepped into a primary coordinating and publicity role.
Thank you very much, because I asked the question because as you may recall, at our last meeting, Mayor Ortega asked this commission if we had any ideas that we would like to submit for the 70th anniversary. So Kelly, I think if we do, or when we come up with ideas, we should then make sure that they get in front of you then in your department.
And Chair Shimakubo, members of the commission, that's correct. If you have some suggestions or a program that you would like to help put together, then certainly we're open to that. Thank you.
Thank you. There is not a lot of time, obviously, to prepare an event, but does anyone have any thoughts about what we may want to contribute? One idea came to mind, and Bruce Wall was involved in it. In 2019, we had submitted some information for a Scottsdale coffee table book. And that information included information about who designed the logo, you know, the cowboy. That was actually a Hispanic gentleman, Mr. Noriega. And so there were a lot of different facts. There was also the Chinese family that opened a grocery store in Old Town, which is today the J. Chu Mexican Import Company. So there are many different pieces of history that include many different people, diverse people. And so one idea would be, how do we take all that information and submit it? Maybe I'm looking at Madan, social media wise, is there a way that we could just introduce all these very interesting facts about our city?
One idea that comes to mind is social media wise, as far as the proclamation goes, I'll be coming out with some of those ideas really soon, hopefully by tomorrow. But those are gems. Those are facts of the city. Those are really easy kind of information to kind of put out on social media, because the logo is a visual. We can easily say who came up with it, give a quick little history. Again, the grocery store, another quick visual. It's a staple of the city, and it's a visual with a quick little fact. Those are actually great ways to talk about the history of the city, right? Like, especially if we're celebrating it. Those are fantastic. Like, if we have more of those are just really easy ways to just kind of quick visual, quick little data, and you just kind of pump them out. Actually, if you have them, I'm going to prepare something for Sharon tomorrow, so I'll take them and I'll get them ready for you. While I'm speaking, one other idea might be, Kelly, you talked about the libraries being a part of this and the tourism department kind of helping out with this. Is there a possible opportunity for local cultural bands to be at different libraries in the evening playing? And the tourism department can easily kind of pump out, here's what this library is playing, this type of music, this library is playing this type of music. Is that something that's feasible? It's relatively doable in the short amount of time, but I'm just curious as what everyone's thoughts are.
Kelly?
Commissioner Shojai, and I'm sorry, would you
No,
like me to
thank you.
respond?
Yes, please.
I was just going to say, Commissioner Shojai and members of the commission, I love the creativity of the idea. I honestly can't answer feasibility. I do know that our libraries are unlimited operating hours at the moment, and I'm not sure what sort of ability they would have to host those sorts of things, but it certainly is an interesting idea.
And Commissioner Roden and Commissioner Hinchman have their hands
Well,
up.
I was just going to say, in terms of trying to utilize what Kelly just said, and also to have music, and I was going to say, you can't have music without food. And so I was thinking maybe ethnic food trucks or those types of things. And it could be either in the parking lot, or, I mean, at the Civic Center, you have, the whole park there. And most of the libraries are attached or next door to, some sort of park. And so, to try and keep it as safe and outdoor as possible, I think, and plus the food trucks would love to, be back in action around, I'm sure. So that could also help, in terms of business wise. So, having food maybe with those events could also be good. And to the point about the data that or the information and the history that you said, that could also be in the treasure hunt or whatever you call it, that could also be there as well. Like, bonus points for such and such, or if these kinds of things. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Hinchman.
Thank you. Kelly, I didn't know if I heard, but is there any way we could have representation just by either volunteering or have the commission? I don't think you said that there's going to be booths or anything, but maybe just us walking around in our t-shirts and helping out, just so that we can represent is an idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hinchman. Kelly, would you like to respond to both of the ideas?
I will. Thank you, Chair Shimakubo, members of the commission. So I will say that, the food trucks, starts to take on more of a bigger event, which starts to be logistically challenging for staff who are already fully loaded to put together. The other piece of it that we do know from experience, that in the summertime, there is a limited, there just seems historically to be a limited number of people who are going to come out and do these sorts of things. So I would hesitate to try to create too much of an event, especially since we're about 5 or 6 weeks out at this point. The other piece that is rattling around in my mind is the 70th is a nice round number, but the big one is going to be 75. And we are already starting to pencil in ideas for the 75th. 5 years from now, it's a ways off, but that will be a substantial celebration in the community. So that's my way of saying I do appreciate the ideas. We could at least ask what the library thinks of those sorts of ideas if the commission has the ability to kind of follow through on the logistics of those arrangements. And then to Vice Chair Hinchman's suggestion, I do think there will be the ability for the commission to have some visibility at the Legacy Quest, possibly even at the library presentation, if that's something that you would like to participate in and be a part of. And then circling all the way back around to the idea of talking, using this as an opportunity to tell more of the Scottsdale for All story. I think that is a good idea, and I think that's easily doable. And we do have chunks of that story that have already been told and could be repackaged and represented to the community during this time of year. As a certainly the 70th is there's a lot of history in there, and there's a lot of stories in there. And I do think they do portray a Scottsdale for all. So I think that's an idea that staff can grab a hold of and run with. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any other comments? So really quickly to summarize, it sounds like then, Kelly, the social media piece that Lenan talked about, would that be acceptable that she would work with you and Stephanie then, that we could put these historical factoids out?
Yes, Chair Shimakubo, yes, thank you.
Perfect. So that can be one thing we'll do. And then I also heard you say that if any commissioner would like to be involved in either the June 23rd or the June 25th events, that we could do so. So we'll work with Sharon on that. And I think you also suggested that if there was anyone on the commission who wanted to work on the possibility of finding some bands, I think that was the idea. If you know of them or have access to them, does anybody want to do some work on it? And then we could, once we have some information, we could approach the library. I see Commissioner Shojai. Okay.
I'll take a stab at it.
Thank you.
And
So-
Chair Shimakubo, Commissioner Shojahi, let me take the library's temperature on that before you do too much work
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
I will do that and then let you know if they think that's something they'd be able to support.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. All right. And then the last thing I heard is it's really the 75th anniversary. So some of the commissioners will still be on the commission, maybe in 5 years. So they can start thinking about things. I had one other comment that I'd like to make about this. I hope that at some place in the 70th anniversary, we can talk about land acknowledgement. And because Commissioner Roden has shared some information about land acknowledgements, and I know that it's not something to be taken lightly, but I think that it's really important part of Scottsdale's history to talk about what land we are on. So I'd like to also suggest that be part of our social media, and maybe even part of, I don't know that it would be part of the library talk. Okay. Is there any other discussion about this agenda item? Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. And we are now moving to agenda item number 5, which is presentation, discussion, and possible recommendations regarding the commissioner's strategic plan and 2021 activities and updates. And so we've broken it out into our 5 key initiatives, and we'll start with the town hall. And I'd like to turn it over to Commissioners Roden and Shoyai about the April 28th follow-up as well as future town halls. And I'm sorry, and Sharon as well.
In Commissioner Shojai and Roden, I did prepare a few slides with regards to the post-survey, post-questionnaire and those results, as well as the polling questions. Results. So the first one is the questionnaires. We only did receive 15 responses. Oh, my apologies. Okay, can you see this okay? To clarify, what you're seeing on the Zoom screen should have riots, racism, and reconciliation with the questionnaire responses. Commissioners, I will put this on the board here. Just give me 1 second. Thank you. Okay. So based upon the questionnaire responses, we did ask a few questions with regards to how we would rate the overall event. So with regards to excellent, we got 5, which is the blue graph. Very good, which is the orange, and we have 6. Good. I'm sorry, very good had 4 and good had 6. The next question was based upon your experience at this event, how likely are you to attend future events? So clearly, most would very likely attend future events. There were 4 who were somewhat likely, 2 had scored neither likely or unlikely. With regards to asking about recommending our event to a friend or colleague, most were very likely with 9, somewhat likely with 2, and neither likely or unlikely with at 4. Now, with regards to, and I apologize, commissioners, that this is fairly small, but these were 2 questions that came after, actually 3 questions that were part of the survey as well. One question asked, what did you like most about the event? And so there were 10 responses. They liked listening to everyone's experiences and comments. They liked the videos being shown because it reminded them of what we're doing at the event. They liked the speaker and they found her engaging and interesting. It flowed well. The mixed media with videos and pictures also worked well. They enjoyed hearing from other participants. They liked Dr. Martin's conversation style. They liked the openness, the honesty, the kindness and acceptance of tolerance. They also felt that it was good. There was a good balance of reality, where we are, and hope, which is where we would like to be. We had some great topics in terms of wanting to attend more of these events where the diversity of voices are encouraged to share their experiences and stories. And finally, the open discussion was very important, and it gave participants an opportunity to provide their perspectives on these sensitive topics. With regards to what you did not like, they did not like that they couldn't see the other participants, and it was hard to have a discussion through video chat. They felt like the dialogue and those who were sharing were one-sided, and those who had different views felt uncomfortable to share. This person really appreciated the event. Again, there wasn't a lot of audience participation. Interaction and discussions were challenging. And then lastly, the conversation about African-American community are focused on racism or social injustice. And they thought that these types of forums were important, but there was so much more to any group of people. In terms of improving, they would like to see an event on how to be an ally. They did suggest, again, an anonymous chat box. They did suggest a specific call to action or how to get more involved. And then they also did say, of course, it's always tough to interact with people that we can't see, and the discussion itself is tough when we all And there's a moderator doing her work. And they say that they realize that the nature of things, as we are all still socially distancing, and some really great things around wanting to participate in something like this, including facilitated small group discussions, even in breakout rooms for Zoom. And so that's all great information. And then finally, have an event where people can learn about the African-American culture, music, art, food, and traditions. Okay. And I'll turn it over to both commissioners with regards to future town hall dates and topics and ideas to incorporate into future town halls. I'd like to start with Stuart Roden. Oh, there you go. You moved there. Commissioner Shojai had I'd like you to start. Thank you.
This feedback is fantastic. I mean, there's so much to work with. I really appreciate knowing how people felt about wanting to see people's eyeballs. I mean, that's a great valid point, right? You want to know who you're talking to. I really appreciated the last comment, which was people would like to learn more about the culture, especially after you bring up such a sensitive topic. It's commendable for someone to say, okay, we talked about it. Let's now learn about this culture because we talked about the negative and kind of broke that kind of a barrier. Now let's learn about this. My suggestions would be for a future town hall, maybe we kind of shift it a little bit, have the discussion, take the positive points that we just learned about. And Commissioner Roden earlier suggested food after I suggested music with the library. Maybe we kind of roll it into one, have a town hall, and then learn about the culture right afterwards. Might be a good sandwich method of here's the bad, here's the reality, here's what you should know about the culture.
Thank you. Commissioner Roden?
I forgot to bring my glasses. It's the first public forum, right? I'm so used to being in front of my computer, but I can squint. One, let me thank everybody who attended. I appreciate all the support from the commission and other people. I especially appreciate all the technical support that was going on behind the scenes. There were a couple of glitches and, smoothed out fairly quickly. So I appreciate that. I absolutely positively am humbled that we're doing this and that it's working. And what are my post-it notes? So we had approximately, 50 or so people between the people that had registered and the people that were on the YouTube link. I know I was trying to do multiple things at once and trying to tweet and send out the link and get people to attend while we were talking and, trying to use quotes and those kinds of things to attract, some sort of visible movement on Twitter, at least. I can't do Twitter and IG at the same time yet. But and so just to sort of recap some of the topics, it's really interesting for someone who, I have to sometimes step out of my own experience. And I've been looking at blank screens with black boxes for a year. And so I'm accustomed to it. And it's interesting to hear that people that haven't been as frequent on Zoom are not. But I also find it contradictory in some sense because it's sort of like you want to have the anonymity, but yet you want to be able to see people. And so there seems to be like a dichotomy between those two things that are going on in the conversation. In terms of the flow and the idea of acceptance, that to me is paramount to the idea of what we're doing, both with this and with everything that we're doing as an HRC. But also in terms of the diversity dinners and all the other types of things. I think it's really important that people are able to see that we're not talking heads on TV trying to bite your head off. And, we're really open for differing opinions. And, I wish that one person or persons who said that they felt uncomfortable had leaned into that uncomfortableness and had asked their question, and it had been bold. But that's an opportunity for us to be able to do that on the front end the next time, to make sure that we really truly encompass all perspectives. As far as future steps, I'm completely, whatever the commission wants to do. If we want to do something for the 70th, that's fine. If we wanted, I know the mayor was, sort of asking, and that was sort of in the conversation at our last meeting. If we want to aim for another, flashpoint is not a good word, but data point after the end of the summer, I think, in light of what Kelly said, and I think all of us needing, moving from Zoom back to in-person and hybrid, and people trying to adapt to the different modalities that we're using right now, especially considering the population of attendees. I think that's also something to consider. And as far as topics are concerned, I mean, we have a list of a couple, and the question is, do we want to put multiple topics together? So as we did, racism, reconciliation, or do we want to have, a singular focus on a particular topic that goes for the if it's an hour and a half or whatever the length of time that we choose. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. Are there any other? Vice Chair Hinchman?
Thank you. Commissioner Roden, when I was listening in on that, I got the sense that it does, and I saw it on here, one of the comments, it almost seems a little one-sided, where a lot of people are expressing their experiences with discrimination, and did give people a chance to explain and share how they felt, which is always a little education for other people. I want to know how we can get people that are wanting to learn from that are on the opposite side. And I think that's where it's the big question of the entire world right now. But I think I want to kind of see that progress, and I don't have an answer. I'm hesitant to be cautiously optimistic in Arizona, but I want to be, and I want to know how we can do that so that we do have two different sides and they're learning from each other. And like I said, while I appreciate all of the people coming out and speaking, how have you guys explored that, and how can we do that? Is there somebody we can consult, or just as a big step? Maybe not all at once, but is that crossed your mind too? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Vice Chair. I appreciate that. The thing right off the top of my head, and looking at the data that we just saw on the slides, two things come to mind. One, when you're doing the polling data, that's anonymous. And so maybe if you push the boundaries in the polling data questions, people, because it's anonymous, are maybe likely to respond. That can get some type of illicit results that we want. The second thing I think, and I hate, putting on the doctor hat, is homework, right? So like a list of resources, a list of videos. I'm always good with the 15-minute video, and if you want more information, here's a 200-page book. But, I always like to start with, TED Talks or, interviews or those kinds of things. And from a wide range. I mean, I think, there's a litany of information out there on both sides. There are some in rare cases, and ASU had an event maybe 3 years ago now where they had, I can't remember his first name or last name. It was Professor Robbie something and Cornell West. So it was like essentially left and right. And they had a dialogue, with each other. Now, they were friends and it was collegial, but just even on the stage to see the images of two people that you think are diametrically opposed to one another on a stage, collaborating, joking, having fun, having conversations, and deep intellectual thought and disagreement, just seeing that is rare these days. And so I think, the more we can have those types of images out there where people are having, and you can go all the way back to, the William F. Buckley debates, all the way back in the day. There's a lot of information out there where people who have disagreements are being able to do it without being disagreeable. And I think that tone is set in our things, but it's also maybe some people, as the data said, still feel reticent to actually feel as if they don't believe it. Maybe they don't necessarily believe it. And so I think that's a really good opportunity and a great comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Eneman.
I'd like to speak to what the vice chairman said and also Dr. Roden. I think we do have a pool, or at least a potential source for a pool of people who are on the other side that we could have the conversation. We certainly know we have three for sure. Those were the three people who on April the 20th spoke against the ADO. And whether we agreed with them or not, they did make some provocative statements that were, at least I think it's probably true of anybody that listened to them, cause for pause. And I say that respectfully. It's my understanding, even though we haven't seen all the written correspondence that the council got, that there were people who had varying degrees of reservations about this. And perhaps we could gather the names of those people and have a town hall where we hear what they have to say and foster the kind of conversation and dialogue that began with Dr. West and his colleague at ASU. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Eneman. And then we have Commissioner Mendoza and then Commissioner Shoyai.
Thank you, Commissioner. So to Commissioner Eneman's point, I agree with that. I was actually thinking it might be something feasible for us to identify people from the other side. I mean, professionals, those who can actually discuss objectively and intelligently so that we can at least set the tone in that particular session or town hall for people to be brave enough to open up and let us know their perspectives on that, mirroring the kind of behavior and attitude of the person that we kind of quote unquote planted to be able to initiate that discussion so that we don't just get somebody who's not, well-versed in these things, but can actually serve as an kind of facilitator, sub-facilitator for the other side to be able to draw out those perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Shoyai.
I feel like I'm going to put a wrench in this for a second, but the numbers don't make sense to me. The data doesn't make sense to me. There are how many residents in Scottsdale? We got 50 people to attend this town hall and 15 people responded to the survey. It is not an accurate picture of who was present, who was on which side. To be honest with you, I find success in that we got feedback. There's something to work off of to improve this. I do not find this a successful event. We did not get the right number of people. I'll take responsibility for that. The messaging may have been wrong. How did we not get more people to participate in this? And earlier, as I was thinking on my feet, like, great, let's get, more music, more food, more people might engage. Great, that was just kind of on the fly, but really this is not great data. I think we need to go back to the drawing board of let's just get people. Commissioner Mendoza just, suggested that we should get people who are well-versed and educated on it. And while I agree with that, I would prefer just residents of Scottsdale, educated or not, on the topic to participate, because that's when we will actually get the pulse of what are people feeling? What do people need to be hearing? And how do we need to help facilitate the education further rather than our own agenda maybe? So I'm going to reflect on some of the feedback and kind of draw back on how did we get just more people to be engaged enough to come to these town halls? So close with that.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Hinchman?
Thank you. First of all, let me backtrack a second because I didn't mean at all to start this now when we have to fix it. I think what you guys are doing is working. I was thinking of the bigger picture. And then I really want to put the brakes on because, for example, the 3 people that spoke during the voting of the ADO, I do not think the majority of them would have a conversation peacefully for what you guys are trying to do. Yes, there are people like that out there, but they were very polarizing. So I'm not trying to, pick which people we want to attend. We want attendance, but I think we have to be careful too of trying to fix all this at once, which was not where I was going with that. So I think what you guys are doing is fine. I was just mentioning it as in the bigger picture, that might be a goal to attain, and how do we get there? But in the meantime, yes, I think you need numbers and we'll all just keep working on that. But I don't want my suggestion taken out of context, because I think we have to be real careful so that it doesn't disrupt what they're trying to do either. And I don't have an answer, but thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And Commissioner Mendoza.
No, I'm sure Commissioner Hinchman didn't want to say that your guys' event was not successful. It really was a good job. And I learned a lot from it as well. I shared that with the commission, the chair, that I really learned something from it, from those who spoke. Now, I think the point of Commissioner Hinchman is that we do not get the perspective from the other side, which is the thing that we're trying to solve or remedy, right? So if what I meant by getting professional, objective people who have the other perspective is we still invite residents, a lot of them, but we just get 1 or 2 that can initiate that discussion in a manner that we want it to be initiated. Not argumentatively, not confrontationally, not hostile, but something that will set the tone for other people to open up and be brave enough to be honest about what their real perspectives are. And hopefully from there, we can draw out the perspective of the other side and learn from it, I think is what Commissioner Hinchman was referring to. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Roden.
Just really quickly, I don't like reinventing the wheel a lot of times. So I take ideas from a lot of places where I've seen them before. And so in Los Angeles on one of the NPR stations, they had a show called Left, Right, and Center. And one of the beauties of being able to be on Zoom is that I've been able to go to, so many lectures and talks and hear, Barack Obama and Isabel Wilkerson and so on and so forth, without having to spend an inordinate amount of money. And so trying to take some of those lessons, I think, and to the other commissioners' points, we can have a moderator or we could have a panel or whichever way we choose that encompasses all 3 of those perspectives. And that might be 1, a way to attract people to come. And 2, also might be a way to let those reticent people that, well, they're not talking about what I'm talking about, I don't want to say anything, feel comfortable because somebody's on the panel that believes what they believe. And so, although I think anybody that does a moderating position tends to try and be moderate, but we all know that everyone's biases come up. And so whether it be the moderator's biases or the person who's looking at the moderator having their biases about them. And so I think that if we had a multiple or a range of perspectives as panelists or people who were, moderating or however we choose to do that, I think that also might address some of the things that we're talking about here. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. Are there any other comments? This is Janice Shimakubo. As I was listening to the discussion, I wanted to go back to, what is our vision? What was our vision for these town halls? And I think we've already said it, and I think we're all in agreement that we had envisioned this would be a coming together of residents. And we had envisioned that it was going to be a dialogue for both, or maybe there's more than 2 sides, 5 sides, whatever. It was going to be multiple points of views. And I made this one up, but I thought it was going to be hundreds of people. And maybe that's unrealistic. So, I think, does that still resonate? I mean, I think that was right, Stuart and Ladan, those were the original goals and the vision for this. And so we've had 3. And first one was a pilot. So we learned a lot from that and we continue to learn. So is it the pleasure of this commission to keep doing them? Yes, Commissioner Heineman.
Madam Chairman, wasn't one of the other purposes something that we articulated in our, I believe it was June or July letter to the city council, our first letter to them, in which we informed, as you said, that we were going to conduct these. But didn't we also say that we didn't give a specific date, but we indicated, if my recollection is correct, that we would share our findings with them? And if we did that, and we're coming up on the year anniversary of when we submitted that first letter, is the time now to do it on the basis of the pilot and the other 2, or do we wait longer?
Thank you, Commissioner Heineman, for that reminder, because yes, that was one thing we said. We are an advisory body to the city council. So given that, whatever programs we do, we should take our learnings and advise the council based on what we've heard. So I ask the other commissioners, do you feel like this is the right time to provide any kind of advice to the city council? Or would it just be an update? Yes.
This was my first one, so I'm voting for an update since I don't have the experience of the other 2.
Thank you, Commissioner Heineman.
And I concur with that. As we heard earlier, although we all wish that there had been a lot more people, but 50 is better than what we had the last time. So maybe it's going to be on an iterative basis. It's not a statistically significant sample. So we can't take the numbers and say, based on these numbers, we've established this null hypothesis and therefore urge you to take action or enact something. But we can tell them on an update basis, we've had 3, we have data from all 3, and we can say, we're using all of this information and presumably we're going to do more of these. I know that's a question that you've left out there on this, but we're going to do more. And when we get more information, we'll be making recommendations to you. So I think it should be an update.
Thank you, Commissioner Heineman and Commissioner Roden.
I love you quantitative people. And I say that with all seriousness, because to me, the qualitative aspects of if we hit 50 people and they go and they talk to 5 people, do we know that? What number do we have? And that is unquantifiable because we don't have a measure to measure that. And so how do you measure the worth of an event, right? Is it by numbers or is it by impact? And I think looking at the positive aspects of what we did on all of the every time we've done this, the positive aspects of the acceptance and the flow and the way in which the ideas are able to be expressed and the way in which people feel, for the most part, and I know there are a few people that didn't, but feel comfortable being able to say what they want to say, in particular, even those that are involved in city government at one particular town hall, is enlightening and changing, and something that we haven't perhaps done in this city, for a while. And so I think we need to look at it that way instead of, can we really handle 1,000 folks? Can we really handle 500 folks? And so, to the way in which we're doing what we're doing, we're building momentum and we're building change. And I think if we, partner up with Smoka and have events when they can start doing things again, and bringing people like Megan Rapinoe and, Dan Savage back to Scottsdale, when we can get, speakers to come from, the library and other kinds of things that will be in concert with what we're doing, not in conflict, and it'll add to the idea that we're doing. And hopefully the idea and the sentiment of acceptance and understanding and being able to have openness in terms of difficult dialogue will be consistent through all those things. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden, Commissioner Eneman, and then Commissioner Mendoza.
Very quickly, I'd just like to reiterate my regard for what Commissioner Roden said and remind my dear friend that the qualitative and the quantitative are not exclusive, and indeed they are compatible. They're like religions. They believe in the same thing. They're just the destination's the same. The paths sometimes differ, and out of small acorns, great oak trees grow, and we've planted those acorns. We are beginning to get some momentum, and together melding us and the perspectives that we bring, it is going to be even better and greater. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Eneman and Commissioner Mendoza.
I just wanted to ask if we have notes on the key learnings that we got from the town halls, like what is our qualitative part? Because I know we have all the stats and everything, but what is the key learnings that we want to update council on? Thank you.
Thank you. So I think there's two things going on. So one suggestion I have then is, if this is the time to do an update, that we ask Commissioner Shoyai and Roden to provide a draft that we could take a look at our next meeting, that we could see what the update really looks like. And it would be, to your point, Commissioner Mendoza, a cumulative update, right? Not just from this last one, but from 3 of them. And then we can determine, if that's powerful enough, if once we see the information, do we want to submit it now? I would also like to suggest we have on our agenda future town halls. If we're going to give an update, I'd like to then have something in there that says, and therefore this is what we plan to do in the next 6 months. And so at one point, I think we were talking about having a regular cadence of a town hall every X, whatever it was going to be. And, I don't know if that's still the thinking, or if we want to do these. I know they take quite a bit of energy and work. And if that's not realistic, then I'd like us also to talk about it. Commissioner Roden?
I think in light of what we just said, if we slow down, we lose the momentum. And yeah, sure, we can aim for, you want 75 next time? Cool, whatever. I understand, data points and those kinds of things. But I also think that there's an opportunity for us to be able to reach out to, the school district and to senior centers and to, a lot of different places that, I know the superintendent of Scottsdale Unified was on the call, but it was during the day. So how many teachers could attend and how many students could attend. So, depending on the variations, we're going to get different factions on, lunchtime. We're going to get other people at nighttime. We're going to lose, that we can't find the perfect, window. And so I would encourage us to look at, definitely doing the update for the June meeting, and then, something in August or September, right around, when everybody gets back and they've had time to, get their aloe vera and all that stuff, and they had time to relax, and then, really sort of get in and hopefully, knock on wood, this summer isn't like last summer. But I to Commissioner Evan's point, I might be a little bit pessimistic too in that regard, but I think there will be opportunities for us to have multiple topics, including what I would say, even the discrimination ordinance as something that is a way in which to tie in a lot of things. And I'll bring this up for new business when we get to it, but a lot of things that are going on, not just about race and those things. So I think, talking about the anti-discrimination ordinance gives us a rich area in which to talk about these things on a broader scale. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden.
Chair Shimakubo,
Yes.
just wanted to give you some of those data points. We did have 44 people sign in, and what was good about those folks who signed in, they stayed signed in, which was a difference from the previous town hall where people signed in and 15 minutes later they were gone. Overall, we did have 110 registrations on Zoom. And since the broadcast, because we film these and we not only show them live, but also replay them, since then we've had 179 views.
Thank you, Sharon. It's good to know. And will we have those statistics for the other two as well?
Yes, I shared the statistics on the others. Yes.
Okay, so we can compile them. Thank
Yes,
you.
the commissioners can compile them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so back to the agenda item. Then I think I heard that we will have future town halls, and we're talking about maybe August or September, and then perhaps one more. So is it possible to do 2 more this year? Okay, we'll consider it. Yes. Commissioner Schmidt.
I think it's definitely possible. I think that we need to just figure out the programming a little bit better. If we can fine tune the time it takes to create the programming, I think we can definitely do it.
Thank you. Okay, and then one of the topics we said would be the anti-discrimination ordinance, which I agree would be a great platform for all different points of views. So that'd be outstanding. Okay, is there any other discussion about the actual town halls? Okay, this is great. Thank you. And we also have one more bullet point under this topic, which is ideas to incorporate into future town halls. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Mendoza if she would say a few words, because she has brought this idea up before. And so I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I made a suggestion for the 21-day challenge. I actually got that from work. We have a diversity committee and they always send us stuff that's going on. So I thought it would be a good way, especially since it was called a habit building racial equity challenge, for us to try to get people to participate and really build habits that promote diversity and inclusion. So I threw that out there for the recent town hall as part of a way to kind of give them a call to action. Hey, after this, do this. So it didn't make that. So I am trying to suggest this again for a future activity for the commission. But instead of a 21-day challenge, I thought that in order to really build good habits, I thought of making it like a 1-year challenge, and not just with curated readings and videos, but with actual activities that they can participate in, that the city is doing, that would involve, volunteering, cultural events and all that, because I think that it's actually the only way for other people to understand each other and other groups is to actually work together and be together and understand how each person thinks. And so to really build this habit, it would take more than 21 days to do it. And so that's the suggestion that I have for that activity. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden.
Commissioner Mendoza, that's an amazing idea. As in a former life, I used to do service learning, where I took students, shall we say, of means, around the city of Chicago to different places in the different neighborhoods. And you're right, like you can talk about it or you can be about it, right? And then getting in there, like the theory and the practice, and having a conversation as you're, feeding homeless people, or having a conversation while you're, rehabbing a house or painting or doing whatever. Those kinds of things are invaluable and are way beyond, town halls and those kinds of things. And so I totally 100% do that. The other thing is, and this is probably a Sharon or Kelly question, but there are ways, and sometimes I hate it, especially like when schools do this, but to incentivize. So if you put X number of hours, you get a Scottsdale for All t-shirt or this or that, or, maybe, lunch with the mayor, sorry, or something, something like that incentivizes folks, for the reticent ones. For the ones who want to do this, I know that they would already jump in without, getting a t-shirt or sticker or something. But I think that could also help advance what you're saying and also promote the city when people are wearing shirts and those kinds of things. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. Any other comments? Oh, Sharon, I'm sorry, did you have a comment, Sharon? Oh, Commissioner Shoshai, please go ahead.
Commissioner Mendoza, I think that is a fantastic idea. I read through the proposal that you sent earlier today, or Sharon shared with us earlier today, and I think it's a really doable thing. When I was kind of thinking about it, I'm like, most people do their New Year's resolution. It would be kind of a great thing to start in January. Start with a New Year's resolution of here's what I do through January. But then if you wanted to extend it into a year-long program, the city actually has a bunch of cultural events that already take place. I pass by all the time. There's the Indian American Fair that happens most weekends, on Indian School, and there's lots of different things. And if you combine that with what Commissioner Roden said of actually gamification or incentivization isn't necessarily a bad thing. If we go into the high schools and say, you have a year-long program, most of them need to do some kind of a service program anyways. Going, learning, and participating, volunteering for some kind of a credit isn't a bad thing at all. Like they all take some kind of a political science kind of courses anyhow, learning about, or is that the wrong course? Whatever the courses that they take, or government, where they learn about how government operates. It's actually a doable incentive, even in a year-long program, even though it sounds kind of long. We don't need to do much other than promote the activities the city is already doing and kind of piggyback off of them to kind of facilitate. I think it's a great, relatively doable, if we just kind of sit down and map it out, I think it's doable. And I think it's great incentive. Thank you for recommending it.
Thank you.
Just
Yes.
real quickly, and to add to that, you could, I would want to do it electronically now, but you could have a passport, right? So you get it stamped, you get a stamp at Starbucks or whatever, the frequent flyer, like that kind of thing. So that if you go to an event, Native American event, you get a stamp. But if you go to so-and-so, if you go to a restaurant, that kind of thing that you have. And so you build up those points, and then those points could be redeemed for something. But also that gives you knowledge and, diversification. It's not like you're just doing the same thing every time, and that you're expanding your palette as well.
Commissioner Day.
Yeah, I love the idea, and I think it could be a great family event too, that they're doing this as a family. I don't know how you incentivize a family, but I think a lot of people would be willing to do that. And then you're touching the youth, which that's the next generation rolling up. So I think it's good. Thank you.
Yes.
I got to jump in there with the electronic passport thing. We don't want to create an app. I'm just saying, what if we just do check-ins? If you checked in and someone sees that you were there, just kind of doable.
Or a picture on a social media site or something like that, or a hashtag, something like that.
Kelly, that was for you so that we don't have to create an app for that.
But there could be an app for that.
But they need to sign up so that we know they're doing it.
So thank you for this discussion. So what I'd like to suggest then is we can vote on this because we do have this as a votable item. So I wonder, first of all, if we could take a voice vote, but also I believe Commissioner Mendoza, keep me honest, that you would be willing to lead this if the group decided that we would like to pursue something like this. That's true. Okay. So given that, I'd like to move that we pursue this idea, and I don't know what we're calling it, service learning, whatever, or the 1-year
Chair.
challenge.
Can I add something? We did something very similar in January, which was the Regional Unity Art Walk, where we had a whole website and we had people to go and have it all listed. We had it all on a map. We had restaurants. How many of you went to any of those outside of Scottsdale? And the reason why I'm asking that is, why didn't you do that? I mean, because that's really the engagement piece, because we worked really hard and we had a multi-city approach. And I was probably one of the only ones using the hashtag because all of my pictures are on there because I was checking. And that was really the ideal, is to get people to use the hashtag to go to these spots or to do these different activities that were part of the Martin Luther King month. But I'm just sharing that with you because we just spoke about the kind of work it takes as well as what the return of investment on it would be. Vice Chair, thank you.
Thank you. I think we have to keep in mind, and I like Dan's idea of starting in January. I think we have to keep in mind our timing and what's going on right now, and I don't think people are ready yet. So I would hesitate to throw ourselves in and start planning, because I would love to do something like that for a year and get the schools involved and start promoting and getting this commission more out in the community. So people really know what we're here to do. But I would say not yet. And I like the idea of the new resolution that not only buys us time, but we might be in a totally different place, hopefully. So if we make a motion, I just want you to keep that in mind, because that might have been part of the problem. If we were to do anything soon, I think that's going to be a huge problem. People just aren't comfortable yet. So I just keep that in mind.
Commissioner Mendoza, did you have your hand raised?
Also, to answer Sharon's question, I think it was the time constraint. I mean, not everybody was available during the limited time that your activity was, put out there. I know I was not, and so I wasn't able to do it. Plus, it was, going around a lot of places as well. But this time, what I was thinking was we give them the whole year thing so they know what they're signing up for. Plus whatever incentive, we might be able to think of.
Thank you. So let me restate my motion, because I think we should probably move off this soon, but I think Commissioner Mendoza, since you've agreed that you would lead this, I think we would leave it up to you to come back to us with a plan, or at least a couple of options. And to Vice Chair Hinchman's point, I don't think you're going to say we're going to start it in August or September. So given that, I'd like to one more time try to make the motion that we ask Commissioner Mendoza to put together a proposal for a one-year challenge and bring it back to the commission, and then we can determine the timing and actually the feasibility of it. Is there a second?
Second.
So that's Vice Chair Hinchman. Or any discussion? All those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody, for that discussion. There's really a lot of energy around it. So thank you, Commissioner Mendoza, for taking that on. And then perhaps on a monthly basis, or maybe not every month, but you can give us some updates on where you are, and provide us at some point, maybe this fall, with a draft layout.
Yeah. And if any of the commissioners want to help, then they're welcome to do so.
Well, and please do reach out to us if you need ideas
Yeah.
or things.
And yeah, I do need ideas because I don't know everything that's going on around the community. So if you do have anything that that's coming up, then just send it over.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. So back to the town halls, and what we've decided is we're going to have a June update brought to us so we can take a look at it. We're going to plan some future town halls. We'll determine it next month if we want to send the report to the city council. And then Hanley will move forward with working on a one-year challenge proposal. So moving on to the next agenda item would be marketing messaging. And this would be an overview of our social media campaign and calendar. And I'd like to turn it over to Sharon and LaDan.
I don't have any updates outside of what we talked about from last time. Commissioner Jay.
I don't either. I'm just planning on just adding some verbiage for the proclamation that we have, and any other things that we talked about earlier today with, as far as putting in nuggets about history and the 70th anniversary.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. The next item is enhanced communication involvement with Scottsdale Independent article highlighting the HRC and its members. So I'd like to turn that over to Vice Chair Hinchman.
Thanks, Chair. So the only update I have is Melissa should have reached out to every one of us already, and there are 2 as of this morning, you know who you are, that she has not touched base with. So she's got some time, but if you could get back to her, either she'll send the interview by email, or you can talk to her on the phone. The questions are the same either way. She's planning on putting this electronically online early June. I think she might have said June 1st, but don't quote me, early June. And then it will be printed in the Scottsdale Independent at the June edition. And I believe I just got that for May, like last week. So it'll be around that same time. So once again, she's very flexible, willing to help, very supportive. So don't feel like we're being put on the spot or there's an ulterior motive. It's just to get us out there and let people know that we're not just, hippies with peace signs. We're actually professionals. We have high degrees. We want good things for the city. So I want that put in print. So please help. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hinchman, and thank you for the introduction. Our next agenda item is identify important trends in Scottsdale through possible focus groups. Commissioners Mendoza and Day.
We have submitted the proposal to staff and they're reviewing it and we are waiting for an update. Thank you.
This is Janice Shimakubo. Kelly or Sharon, can we ask, is there a status report on that proposal?
Kelly, I don't think we have any updates. We had received Commissioner Mendoza's proposal, and there is a discussion around funding. She proposed 6 focus groups and she prepared a budget. So thank you so much for doing all those details. But the total came up to $27,000. So those are some things that we have to consider and figure out what is, again, a lot of different factors. Kelly, is there anything that you want to add to that?
No, that's correct. Obviously, something like that is not in the budget. So we do have it and appreciate all the work that went into it. And we just need to look through it and see what we can do that would be responsive to the suggestion. So we can commit to certainly having a more substantial status update at your next meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Mendoza, did you want to just do a quick review on what the ideas are on the focus groups, just in terms of the background? Or do you want to hold off on that? I can share as well. I just love that what you've done is you integrated the community survey into the focus group in terms of and creating and trying to figure out what kind of questions diversity and inclusion would have. And then you put some learning objectives and desired outcomes in terms of, understanding why D&I responses were related to the context of the overall survey, and then trying to figure out to determine the extent of differences, and then to provide guidance to the HRC and the Office of Diversity and Inclusion regarding how to approach those differences. So I really liked what you put here, and then you have some desired outcomes in terms of understanding a deeper understanding of perceptions and the knowledge gained about the project. So there's some really good information, and it's very similar to the conversation we just had about the town hall. So I was wondering if there was a bridge or some type of commonality between the town hall and the focus groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there any other discussion? This is Janice Shimakubo. So with respect to, is there any commonality between the focus groups for the NCS and the town hall? The only thing I could possibly think of is when we recruit candidates, but I don't know that we want to be biased either. So that would be the only possible, in my opinion, touch points perhaps. But until we know that there's budget, I guess we'll find out, right? And Kelly, I hope is this going to be a 2022 budget, because we're already coming up to the new fiscal year. So maybe that offers some hope for us.
Chair Shimakubo, unfortunately, the the budget for the next fiscal year was already
Okay.
submitted. So it wouldn't be, it was not submitted as a specific ask within the budget. That's why we need to consider whether we have other options. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, then we'll be on the lookout. Commissioner Day, you had a question or comment?
Kelly, is there any timeline of when we may hear if there's funding? Thank you.
What I will say is that we will have a specific conversation in the city manager's office and commit to having an answer and update for you for your next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
If
Commissioner
the city
Mendoza.
does not find the funding, is it possible or acceptable to get a sponsor, like a nonprofit, to sponsor the study?
Commissioner Mendoza, members of the commission, that's certainly something that if the commission wants to move that direction, then that would be another way to potentially make something like this happen.
Thank you. Okay. The next agenda item is develop city relationships. And so in this quarter, Vice Chair Hinchman and I will be meeting with the new Scottsdale Chief of Police, Jeff Walther, on May 27th. And Sharon will be also joining us. So we will be talking to him and we will report back to you about that discussion. We've also reached back out to the library to see if there's an opportunity to further discuss some of the ideas that we had earlier this year. And I think we're also going to try to get back together with the Human Services Commission one more time, because we did that a couple years ago. So that completes that. Moving on to agenda item number 6. So updates, discussion, and possible recommendations to staff regarding recent and upcoming diversity and inclusion related activities and incidents impacting the city of Scottsdale. And Sharon, when you give this report, will you also please update us on the hate crimes for Q1? Because we may not have, you might have already brought that up at another meeting and I forgot, but you did tell me we do have a report.
Not for Q1, no. We haven't had any
Oh, I
hate
thought you
crimes
said-
for, no.
Oh, I thought you said there were no hate crimes.
Yes, there are no hate crimes for this quarter, no.
That's what I wanted. Okay, so everybody, just so you know, we have a formal readout that there were none. Thank
Okay,
you, Sharon.
Thank you very much. Okay, so this item, just very quickly, I am collaborating, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion is collaborating with a community-based organization called Generation BLK. So at this point, the reason why I'm presenting this to you all is because you are definitely engaged and wanting to do something and work some music and some food. Well, this event will have all of that. It's going to be taking place at the McCormick-Stillman Railroad Park on Saturday, June 19th. It'll be a great event. In fact, it was put on for the first time in Scottsdale last year, and Generation BLK has very much committed to have a very family-friendly event at our park. So we're really looking forward to that. We're currently working on all the details and planning this out and getting it ready for launch. This will be a part of June Days, as mentioned, the tourism and events program that will be a month long. The difference, and I do want to share this with you, is the June Days will have its own website and will have Juneteenth within that website as part of its promotions, as well as all the many other things that are happening in the downtown area throughout the month of June. So it is a little bit different than the anniversary. So we will share and get the information on all those sites to you as soon as we get them up and running. But there are a couple out there already on the web. If you Google June Days Scottsdale, you should see a couple of them coming up. Experience Scottsdale has it on their webpage as well. But really, unfortunately, I can't solicit any volunteers from you all because we have some regulations in place, but I will be, if you would like to volunteer, the Generation BLK will have their own voluntary program. So we will vet all of those interested volunteers through their process. They'll fill out an application and then it'll go through them. And it would not be through the city. So that's just a little bit of a difference. The event is scheduled to be from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that is it as far as this report goes. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Sharon. Are there any questions? Sharon, I have a quick question about the June 19th. We don't have to register for that, right? We just show up like in the past.
Yes, yep. So it is a free and open to the community.
Thank you. Okay, well, we are now on agenda item number 7, which is identification of future agenda items. Does anyone have any ideas or thoughts they would like to put on for our June meeting? Which is Monday, June 14th. And Sharon, it is electronic, you said, because there's going to be work done here in this building.
That would be correct. I appreciate you all coming out here and it's great to see you all face to face. However, if you look to your left, we have some flooring issues and that will be taken care of and it will be scheduled in this room and unfortunately will not be available for June. And of course, in July, we have our break. So we will be back. If you decide to do either a hybrid or in person, it will be in August.
Thank you. So back to the future agenda items, we have our standing agenda items. I'd like to just ask if everyone still wants these. So the ADO, I think we still want that on there. We also have I think the 70th anniversary, we should keep it on there one more month. And then all our strategic items. Is there anything else? Yes, Commissioner Roden.
I have an agenda item in regards to the ADO and the homeless ordinance that passed the other day. Just sort of how those two reconcile with each other, potentially.
Okay, thank you. Any others? I would like to bring up one more, which is at a future meeting. I think several of us have sort of, I think, tossed this idea around before, but of doing a land acknowledgement at the beginning of our meeting. But again, we don't want to take it lightly. So I think what we'll do is perhaps put a draft together and then bring it forward to the commission to look at and see if it meets everyone's approval. So with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Okay, Commissioner Eneman, Commissioner Roden, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Our meeting is adjourned.